Today we're bringing you a comparison video of two devices a lot of you all have been asking about. It is the original Pixelbook versus the new Pixelbook Go. And while these share a similar name, they don't share very much in common. And so they're very different Chromebooks and very different Chromebook experiences. And we want to talk about why it is, I think, that one of them ends up being a better Chromebook than the other. Today's video is brought to you by NordVPN. They're the VPN of choice for millions of consumers because they're great at what they do, and that is keeping your browsing safe and secure when you're out and about or whether you're at home. If you'd like to learn more about them and how their service works, head over to chromeunboxed.com/NordVPN to get started today. It's been a little bit since we've done one of these comparison videos, so I want to remind you kind of how we go about doing this. And it's similar to the way that we deal with our reviews. We talk about the basic 5 things we always talk about, and that's build quality, screen, input methods like keyboard, trackpad, and we talk about ports and internals, and then we talk about just overall usability and value. So we'll kind of make each one of them a winner in each of those categories, and at the end, one of them will have won more than the other, and it'll be pretty clear which one's our overall winner. Let's start with our build quality, and this is going to be kind of a push if we're just talking about build quality. The regular Pixelbook's built out of aluminum, the Pixelbook Go is a magnesium alloy. But honestly, all that aside, they both feel premium, well put together, and everything is just as it should be. All the lines meet up, and they both look great on the table. They both feel solid in the hand. There's not a bunch of creaking. The hinges work really well. The Pixelbook Go does have that one finger lift, which is really nice. And the Pixelbook gets along pretty close to that, but it's a convertible, so it's kind of forgivable that it doesn't have that feature. But in general, both of these Chromebooks are built solidly, they're built very well, and there's a meticulous attention to detail that shows in both Chromebooks. So when it comes to build quality, it's kind of a push here. However, with build, we also have to talk about the overall functionality, especially when we're talking about these two Chromebooks, because the Pixelbook Go is just a clamshell and it doesn't open up past, like, I don't know, 160 degrees or something like that. And if you're just using it as a Chromebook, that's fine. That's not that big of a deal. But the Pixelbook actually flips all the way around. It can be used as a tablet. And we're going to talk about screens in a minute, but the 3:2 aspect ratio on the Pixelbook gives it a much more tablet-y feel in general. It's more squarish by design. And so when you're using it as a tablet, it feels very natural. The seams come together, and it's got these square edges on the side that feel good when it's in tablet mode as well. So if you're really talking about overall functionality from the build perspective, the win here has to go to the Pixelbook just because you can get your clamshell stuff out of it, but you can also get convertible, tent modes, and all that other stuff from the way this thing is built. Let's move on to screens. And honestly, it's pretty clear on paper at least which one has a better screen. It's the Pixelbook. The Pixelbook has a higher density at Quad HD+, so it's 2400 by 1600 versus the standard 1080p in the Pixelbook Go. It's also that 3:2 aspect ratio that a lot of people really like. However, it's 12.3 inches, so it's a little bit smaller in its diagonal measure. And honestly, after using the Pixelbook Go for some time, I'm not that offended by 16:9 screens anymore. I really thought 3:2 was the way to go, but honestly, it's very usable. What I'd like to see is somewhere in between, 16:10, kind of like what a MacBook uses. But both of these screens do very well. It's just on paper, between the brightness being 400 nits on the Pixelbook versus the 300 nits on the Pixelbook Go, the 3:2 aspect ratio, and the higher density of the pixels, the screen just wins on the Pixelbook. One way the screen doesn't win, and it's not really the fault of the screen exactly, but the screen area maybe is what we'll call it. The Pixelbook Go actually wins on that because the bezels aren't nearly as large. Having not used the Pixelbook for a little while, going back to kind of prep for this particular versus video, the bezels on the Pixelbook are just really big. They're really big, and it feels like they're big for no good reason. They could have probably gotten a 13-inch display in this same chassis and not really had to change too much. But again, that doesn't take away from the screen quality or the experience in using the screen. It's just, it needs to be mentioned. It's got big bezels. I'm not taking the win away from the Pixelbook because of that, but yeah, the bezels are huge. Next up, let's move down to the keyboard and trackpad, and we're gonna flip it here. On this one, the clear winner 100% is the Pixelbook Go. You can read any review you want to, talk to anyone who's used the Pixelbook Go. As good as the keyboard and trackpad are on the Pixelbook, and that's to say they are excellent, they're actually somehow better on the Pixelbook Go. The keys have the same kind of travel and clickiness to them, but they're quieter and they just feel better. After spending, again, I spent a good week back on the Pixelbook again, just to make sure that some of the things I thought about the Pixelbook Go were true. And it is true. The keyboard is just better on the Pixelbook Go. And the same thing goes for the trackpad. It's just larger in area. It's just as smooth as the Pixelbook, but it's larger, so it makes it easier to just get around and do all your gestures and all that kind of stuff. The click mechanism is much quieter and much more subtle than the kind of clunky click mechanism that's on the Pixelbook. So in general, between keyboard and trackpad, both wins have to go to the Pixelbook Go. As we move on to the internal bits of both of these devices, the comparison gets a little more foggy here. So in general, we're talking about the base model of both of these devices, but that's kind of not fair. We're not really comparing apples to apples here because the base model of the Pixelbook Go comes in at such a lower price than the base model of the Pixelbook. So if we start talking about the next step up on the Pixelbook Go that gets it on the same kind of level playing field with the Pixelbook, we're talking similar Core i5s, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. And when we put those two models next to each other, clearly the 8th gen model is faster. It's going to be zippier, and since it's only pushing a 1080p screen, it feels much faster. But the big benefit here is you can step down to the base model, and even though on paper it has a lesser processor and a little bit less storage, it actually feels just as zippy as the main Pixelbook, and you get to save $350 on the way. However, internals come down to more than just the processor, RAM, and how much storage you have. There's also things to consider like port selection and speakers. And when it comes to port selection, these devices are literally identical. There's nothing really different going on between the two of them, so that's kind of a push. We don't really have to even talk about that. It's just a single USB Type-C on both sides for connectivity and charging. However, when we move into the speaker department, the speakers on the Pixelbook Go demolish the original Pixelbook. And I knew the Pixelbook had bad speakers. No one ever thought the speakers were great on it. I just didn't think they were that bad. But after being spoiled by being able to listen to audio on the Pixelbook Go's insanely good speakers, it's not even close. Like, it's so far separated, it feels like it should get 2 points for this. We're not gonna do that because we can't go against our system, but it's that much better. It's that pronounced of a difference. And so when we start talking about all the stuff with internals and processor and RAM and all those kind of things being kind of similar between the two and not that different, like this category is going to kind of come down to just the speakers, honestly, when we're talking about differences, and they're that different that the win in this category has to go to the Pixelbook Go. Finally, we come up on user experience. And this is a tougher category than some of the ones that have come prior to this because both of these Chromebooks are so good. They're both so enjoyable to use. They both feel premium. They're both fast. They both do everything you want a great Chromebook to do. But they're different. They are very different devices. And though they share a similar name, they are just different ways of going about building a Chromebook. So with the Pixelbook, you get a flippable design. You get the option of adding a pen into it. You get the more tablet-like experience whenever you flip it around, and you get maybe not the best clamshell experience, but a good clamshell experience. You get solid aluminum. You get a very specific design aesthetic from it. But then on the Pixelbook Go side, the same is true. You get what I feel like, and I said in the review for this device, is like the best distilled Chromebook experience you can get. If you're talking about picking up a device that you want to open up and use like a laptop, there's just nothing better than this device right now. It just does everything you want a Chromebook to do exceptionally well, and I loved using it. And so it becomes very difficult to compare the two because the experiences are different. So what I can tell you is from my experience, which one I like using more. And that one's easy. It's the Pixelbook Go. And part of it is because of the speakers. And part of it's because the just standard 1080p screen that I don't have to worry if like Linux apps are gonna scale properly or what Android apps are gonna do on it, or it having to push around more pixels than you really need because everything on the screen still looks nice, clear, and pin sharp. But it's also the speakers and the way that I can watch video on it and just kind of be engrossed in it. It's the typing experience. It's the way the thing feels under my palms. It's the look of the device. It's all of those things mixed together that ultimately, I wasn't even sure going into the last week or so of using the Pixelbook. I thought maybe I'd pick it up and kind of just be entranced by it all over again. And again, I'm not saying it's not a great experience and that it's not a great Chromebook, but when it comes down to it, I was ready for this video to be filmed so I can go back to my Pixelbook Go. And it's not because it's so much faster or it's so much more premium or any of those things. It's just an experience thing. There's something about using the Pixelbook Go that sets it apart from other Chromebooks that I've used up to this point that make it very special and a very awesome overall experience. So the win in the experience column obviously goes to the Pixelbook Go. If you're tallying it up, we have 3 points on the Pixelbook Go and 2 for the Pixelbook. And again, this is one of those comparisons that it's not this blowout. It's not something where one is so much better than the other and it's a clear-cut, simple choice to make. They're very similar in a lot of ways and very different in a lot of ways, but also both very awesome Chromebooks. Which one's right for you? Well, I can't always answer that question for every single person that watches a video. What I can tell you is I think the Pixelbook Go is a better holistic Chromebook package, and the best part about it is you can get the entry-level model that I use on a daily basis for $649, and that's no sales, that's the MSRP, that's what it always is. And even right now, we're seeing some sales every once in a while on the original Pixelbook, but in general, you can't get into a Pixelbook for less than $1,000. And so that's just another thing that adds to the intrigue of the Pixelbook Go. And another reason why I can say, if you're looking at the two of these devices, if you don't really need pen input and you don't need a convertible tablet kind of thing, the Pixelbook Go is probably the one you want to go for. Guys, that's been it for this one. If you liked it, go down there and give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and make sure and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos just like this one. And if you're really loving the content, hit that blue join button to see all the perks our members get, like custom emojis and behind the scenes content. Till next time, we'll see you.